Well, this was not the 8 Mile sequel that I was expecting. Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to another new release review. And for today, I will be covering Mile 22. Mile 22 was directed by Peter Berg and stars Mark Wahlberg, Iko Uwais, and Lauren Cohan, as well as Ronda Rousey. So the story to this is essentially it's just an escort mission, really. Iko Uwais' character has sensitive information, and he will not give it to the Americans unless he is escorted out of his country. Therefore, Marky Mark and his team, called Overwatch, they're like a secret black ops, like unofficial tactical team, and they have to escort him down 22 miles to the airport, to a runway, to get him out of the country so he can give them the information that they need. To start, guys, with the positives, the main three of the movie are actually pretty solid. Iko Uwais in this, he is known for The Raid, The Raid 2, and The Raid 2 is like one of my favorite action movies of all time. I love that movie. I think it's damn near perfect. Not the point. He's really good in this movie, actually. He really shines, and I was super happy to see him in a mainstream Hollywood movie, because before then he did foreign films, at least foreign to us, movies in his home country in his own language, but he's never really done many like big Hollywood things, so I was really excited to see him in this. And Mark Wahlberg, he goes back and forth with me on this one. Sometimes I like him because he's a very smart character, he plays a very sophisticated character, he always knows what's going on, he always has a handle on the situation, he's never not calm, like he just kills people, and that's what he does, that's what he enjoys doing, that's what he is. But then other times he's a major asshole and you're just like, alright dude, it's time to stop being a dick, but he never really does, he's never nice to anybody really. And Lauren Cohan, I think, actually gives a really good performance. I pretty much only known her from The Walking Dead. I feel like that's where most people know her from, is Maggie from The Walking Dead. So it was nice to see her in a big Hollywood movie like this, and I think she did a very good job. Now, I know some of you guys might kind of come after me for this one, because I am going to give this movie some positives, because I do feel like this movie did have some redeeming qualities. Now, redeeming qualities do not make it a good movie, I just feel like it's things that I should bring attention to. First one being the sound design. I actually thought the sound design in this movie was very crisp. The gunshots I thought sounded very, very good. The explosions I thought were really nice too, and just kind of like the bullet sound just from, when the bullets are hitting off the walls and there's shrapnel going everywhere and the windows are getting blown out and the cars smashing into each other. I thought all that stuff sounded really, really good. It was really crisp. You felt the impact from them. That stuff was excellently done. And even the sounds coming from the fights, a couple of times I thought they sounded almost a little too cartoonish, but for the most part they sound good, like the snapping of bones and blood from people being like shot or stabbed or so on and so forth. I thought all that stuff was excellently done. And next is the gore in this movie. That's not really a positive, I guess, to some people, but for me, if you make an action movie like this, it can't be PG-13. Luckily, this one isn't. And even sometimes you can put this like really just weird looking, unnecessary CGI blood and gore. That stuff really pisses me off almost equally as much as making a movie like this PG-13. Luckily, if it was CGI, I didn't really even notice it, but a lot of the gore in this movie is very unflinching. They don't hide away from almost anything in this movie. You see pretty well everything. The gore I thought was really well done, and that's something to me in movies that is almost necessary. Like, I want it to feel real. If you're going to shy away from the gunshots, the stab wounds, or they're just going to look like crappy CGI like they were in the first Purge where it was just really bad CGI blood, that stuff pulls me out of the moment. This stuff, it felt real. The gore looked really, really good, so I'll give them props for the gore. And overall, I just really enjoy the concept of this movie. Honestly, I always thought a movie like this would be really cool, not necessarily the escort mission part, but just following, like, I almost feel like it would be good for a TV show, just following, like, this government, just black ops, like, they're ghosts, right? No one knows who they are. When they sign these papers, they join this team, they are off the grid. If anything happens to them, the government's like, nope, we know nothing. Like, they're just ghosts, right? So I really enjoy the concept of this, and I feel like following a team like this in a setting like this would be a really cool idea and a really cool concept if executed properly. This movie doesn't really do that, and there is at least one, I think, decent-ish action sequence in this movie. Closer to the end, there is like a hallway action sequence, but I thought that was actually well done. I feel like they scaled back on some of the negatives that I'm going to discuss shortly. But, it still wasn't perfect, it wasn't good, I just feel like I was actually moderately entertained in those moments. No middle ground for this one, guys. It's pretty much just straight up hardcore negatives from here on out. First and foremost is the one I have to discuss. It is the biggest negative on this movie. I feel like if they would have fixed this up, this movie actually would have been liked a lot more by a lot of people. The number one issue with this movie is jump cuts.
Ricky, go right.
Get right. Where's the signal?
Oh my god! There's jump cuts throughout all of this movie. There's jump cuts in the action sequences, whether it's the hand-to-hand combat, the gunfights, and it even goes in just like chase sequences in the cars and stuff like that, all jump cutty. Even the damn conversations are jump cutted. Sometimes, again, if you're gonna cut back and forth between close-ups on people's faces because it's supposed to be intense, but it doesn't even do that. It cuts back and forth between like their face, the face, a different angle of their face, here, here. Like it's just 110 different shots of just their faces. Jump cuts everywhere. And it's made even worse by some of the characters have nervous tics, like Iko Uwais does this. He just touches his fingers the whole movie and does this. And it cuts to that in the middle of sequences for no reason. Just cuts to him just doing this and then his fingers. And then Mark Wahlberg, he has a wristband and he just snaps it. And they kind of explain why he does it, but it doesn't do anything for the movie. He just does it. It adds extra jump cuts in. That's all it does. Is there'll be a conversation just but his hands are like down here and then he's snapping it so the camera just cuts down there, and even in the action sequences and stuff like that he's just like it's just, I don't know why it's there. Just added extra jump cuts for no reason. The jump cuts plagued this movie. The jump cuts essentially killed this movie. I also felt super cheated by the ending. I thought the ending was downright horrible. It left such a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not going to spoil it for you, of course, but the ending was just downright brutal in my mind. And the fact that this movie really has no real villain. There's a guy, you see him in the trailers, he kind of acts like a villain-ish, but he just kind of appears a couple of times and then doesn't really go anywhere. Like, I feel like if this movie would have had a prominent villain to people trying to chase down Iko Uwais, or maybe even just like a counter type of like Overwatch, because that's their Black Ops team, almost like a counter Overwatch, if they were hunting them down, or something. Just give me something that resembles a villain, but there really is no real villain. There's just a bunch of goons trying to kill them. And another thing that plagues this movie is you really don't care about the characters. Iko Uwais, he doesn't really do a whole lot, really. He's just kind of this guy, so I mean, you want him to live, but you don't really care if he dies. Marky Mark's an asshole half the time, you don't care if he dies. And Lauren Cohen, you probably care the most if she dies or not, because she has a daughter in this movie, but still, you don't really care. And then, aside from them, you literally get no character development from everyone else. Everyone else is just totally and completely expendable, and no one gives a shit. But I think the thing that this movie suffers from the absolute most, aside from the jump cuts that I mentioned there were jump cuts, because there's a lot of jump cuts, is the fact that this movie is just completely and utterly forgettable. I don't think I'll ever watch this movie again. I might, maybe, if it's on Netflix and I'm bored, or it's on TV. I wouldn't really recommend this to everyone. It's pretty run-of-the-mill, despite, I think, having a decent concept. Everything was put to waste. It had a great cast, put to waste. It had a great concept, it was put to waste. They even had the sound design, it was very crisp, it was very good. The gore was actually well done. There's actually some positives that really could have thrived in this movie if done properly, but ultimately this movie is just completely and utterly forgettable. With all that being said though, guys, there are a couple positives in this movie, so I'm not gonna, I don't feel like I hated it as much as everyone else is what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't feel like it deserves like a 19% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is what it has right now. Put it this way, Slender Man has a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's a 7% difference between the two of those. I think that's horrible for poor Mile 22. I don't think it deserves that low, and I definitely don't think it deserves to be that close to Slender Man, but it definitely isn't good. So for all those reasons, guys, I'm going to be giving Mile 22 a 5.5 out of 10. So guys, if you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know. Were you as let down by Mile 22 as I was? And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. And that's a wrap.